Good morning, everyone. So this is for Tuesday. Of course, I'm recording on a Sunday, but that's okay. Um, an interesting thing happened over the week. Well, it's been a very interesting week. For some of you, you know that I was in the hospital for several days for a blood clot, but that's not about this video. This video was after I got back from the hospital. Had a client drop off two computers. They were a Dell and an HP. Both were doing the exact same thing. Randomly turning off and so on and so forth. And I said, okay, we'll take a look at it. So I got down the information, the client wrote down their information for logins and stuff like that. And both computers had the same username and password with a Microsoft account on the computers. Well, okay. Technically, you can do that. In fact, that's one of those things that Microsoft kind of like encourage you to do. That way, if you do something on one computer, it should, through the internet and network, appear on the other. And that's exactly what happened. At least that's what it appears. So I signed into both computers simultaneously and started doing repairs. And of course, I'm doing a virus scan on both of them. And so I ended up taking a whole bunch of viruses out of the one computer, uninstalling them, but the other one hadn't finished yet. So I took out the threats and the known bad software, did the virus scan, rebooted the computer, and this first one, it was a lot faster than the other one. Two different computers, like I said, one's a Dell, one's an HP. This is the newer one, this is an older one, and you can tell by the technology, this one might be 2 years old, where this one's about 6. The second one is a backup computer in place, the other one goes back. So anyways, the first computer reboots, I sign back in, and all of a sudden it starts acting funny again after about 10 minutes. I was like, what the heck? And so I start looking further into the accounts. Well, not only are their computers connected via a Microsoft account, where it's both exactly the same, but the client was using OneDrive because they have Office 365. So OneDrive is for sharing files back and forth. They were also connected with Google Sync, same thing. And they also had Dropbox between the two computers. So if you're not familiar with these different services, basically they're a way of sharing files between one person or another, or with computers. With the Microsoft account, in theory, now I'm quite sure this is what happened, is when you install an app on one computer and then you sign into another one, it automatically puts the app on the other computer because the accounts are the same, even though they're two different computers. Well, that's exactly what happened. So I had removed all the threats and viruses and bad software out of this computer, but this one was still going through the virus scan. It detected that this stuff was missing from over here because it didn't match, and so this one reinfected the first one. Yeah, this is why you don't use Microsoft accounts. If you're going to use a Microsoft account with your computer, which I strongly recommend against, if you're going to use a Microsoft account with your computers, make sure that each computer has its own account. If, of course, you are in a corporate environment, system and network administrators know how to, each computer has an ID, so you can't cross-infect. But in this particular case, it was a residential account or, a consumer account. And so, yeah, I fixed this one. And because it was missing files, it didn't match over here, this one started reinfecting that one. And it come across, like I said, through the Microsoft account and through the Office 365 account. It was just, So I had to break the connections between the two computers and cleaned up this one and then cleaned up this one and get it all straightened out. This is why I tell people don't use Microsoft accounts, because if you're not careful, you could take a virus on one computer and put it on your other computer and not even realize you've done it. In this particular case, that's what happened, is they had bad apps on the first computer, and when it started acting up, they started using their backup computer. Of course, it's synced between the two computers. Boom. Both of them are now infected. Yeah, so that's why I tell people don't use Microsoft accounts. And of course, this was even more amplified because they were using OneDrive between the two computers, and they were using Google accounts also. So I think they were using the Google Sync, which is just like, OneDrive for sharing files back and forth. not necessarily for settings. The Microsoft account is the settings, but the OneDrive and the Google Drive, the Google Sync, is more for files. So if you had an infected file over here in a Word document, it will eventually go over to the other one via Google Docs, or Google Drive. So yeah, again, if you're going to sync computers together, especially using the same account, be very careful, because this stuff can happen. I don't see it too much because most people have, this is the husband's, this is the wife, or this is the boyfriend, or this is the girlfriend's, and they're two actual separate accounts, and they share information via Dropbox or via Google, this way. But it's not an automatic reinfection. It's, it happens when you manually share stuff. This one was an automatic reinfection because of the Microsoft account. Microsoft, just a suggestion on residential sides, and I'm going to make this suggestion for Google and also for Firefox, because I know Firefox has this capability through Firefox accounts. Maybe the solution to this is, when you create an account for syncing, make one the master and then all the ones secondary after that. That way the secondaries can't reinfect the first. If a file transfer has to go back to the master, you have to kind of like do an admin approval. Yes, send it to me. That way it kind of limits that. But that's just my thoughts. Are those companies going to listen to me? No. I'm just a single person in a small town. Why would that ever happen? But yeah, that's what I saw this week. Thought I would throw that out there. If you're using two computers with the same Microsoft account, just be aware that if one computer gets infected, it can lead to the other one being infected too. So, because the information is shared between the two computers, especially with software that's installed, if you get it through the Microsoft Store. Yeah, definitely be aware of that. So definitely, and again, if you're going to use Microsoft accounts, I tell people not to do that, use local accounts. But if you're going to do it, make sure that each computer, especially in residential settings, each computer has their own Microsoft account. That way, this cross-infection can't happen. And then if you need to share files between the two computers, you can use the manual settings in, SkyDrive or OneDrive, Google Drive, Dropbox, and manually share them, just to cover your butt. Because in this particular case, it was, like I said, a fixed one, rebooted it, turned it back on, 10 minutes later it was reinfected because the other computer was still operational and doing its thing. So yeah, be careful about that. Just piece of advice. It's not supposed to do that technically, but Microsoft, they're trying to make it easy for everyone. So that's why, yeah, I tell people don't use Microsoft accounts. So that's your video for this week. A little bit of advice. Don't put the same Microsoft accounts on multiple computers. I strongly encourage you, don't use Microsoft accounts at all. If you have Office 365, that's one thing, you might not have a choice in that, but yeah, don't use Microsoft accounts at all. If you need us to deactivate your Microsoft account, if you need us to, create a local account, move everything from your Microsoft account to your local account, and then deactivate your Microsoft account on your computer, we can do that. I'm doing a file transfer for a client, so that's why that popped up. So just, those are the things to remember. I don't think it's something that anyone would have thought of, but it happens. You guys have a great day. Remember, if you're in the service area here and you need us to look at your computers, give us a call, schedule time. You can send a text message to that phone number also from your phone. But give us a call, send us a text if you're in this area. We'll come to fix your computer, or you can bring it to us. We'll just schedule time. And like I said, don't forget there is Dropbox in Norwalk and in Sandusky if you'd like to utilize that service. Here's our Facebook information, how to find us. You can find us on MeWe. Please like, share, subscribe. It really, really helps. You guys have a great day. I'll talk to you later.